Here's the thing. If you're still mad about this, just know that it's your mindset and you're thinking like a loser, but you don't have to.
You don't.
You can change the way you think, but you have to accept the way you're thinking right now is not going to get you anywhere. You're being bitter, you're being petty, you're insecure, you're not confident, and you can change that, but you have to be proactive. If you just sit around and you know what? You only have what you have because of fans, so don't talk about us like that. Yeah, but you're still a loser if you're thinking like that. And so you're maybe, I'm lucky to have you as a loser fan, but you don't have to be that way. You could be a winner. You just got to change the way you think.
What's up, losers? Welcome back to another video. Shout out to all you poor people out there doing it tough. Remember to stop making excuses and change your attitude. It's the only way. And speaking of doing it tough, our boy Tom Segura, well, he's having a rough time, it seems. He was at the airport and, why don't we just let him explain it for us? Dumb from American Air made me gate check my bag so she feels the little power she has in her life. I get it. You win this round. Some get mad when people vent online at their airline frustrations, but honestly, it's a healthy outlet. Think of the alternatives. Writing is probably the best option. You get the emotions out, get some validation, and you can fantasize that old face sees what you wrote. So then American Airlines responded and replied to Tom saying, "We know you're no rookie, Tom, and you know how to pack a bag. We're sorry for the hassle today." To which he replied, "This is a psychological tactic that well-trained people across all businesses use because it's effective. They empathize with the customer's emotion. Typically, people feel seen and heard and immediately calm down after this acknowledgement. I still wish awful things on Gate Agent." This is where you can kind of tell that Tom's being serious. He's not joking around. He might be a little bit, but to analyze their reply like that and lead into it, he's not kidding. So then to conclude all of this, he tied it all up nicely with, "Lesson learned, to forgive is the highest, most beautiful form of love. In return, you will receive untold peace and happiness. I want you to know I forgive the gate agent that behaved like a child in order to feel like a boss, and I hope the next passenger does too." To which one of his fans replied, "This is one of the gayest things I've ever read on Twitter." Oh, that's funny. So then, speaking of replies, Tom actually took the time out of his super busy celebrity schedule to engage with people on Twitter. Weird, huh? For someone who's so busy. And he made it crystal clear how he thinks about this kind of stuff. "Well, your whining sounds like she made the right call. Minor inconveniences are the horror. You sound like an airline employee. Should have been on a private jet, Tommy. Your fault for interacting with pause. Yep. You sound pretty ego-driven and entitled from this post, Tom. You've been losing touch lately with your fan base, can't even relate with what you say anymore. That's what making too much money does to people, I guess." To which Tom replied, "Oh wow, thanks for your cool insight. I'd sure hate to lose touch with dumb who can't relate to a bag check at the airport. Have fun on the choo-choo, bud." Oof, that one was brutal. Some hard truths right there. I mean, even though that's kind of mean, the truth can be like that, right? But this one here, this one got me good. Tom absolutely roasted old cowboy over here who said Tom sounds like a prima donna. I think he meant to say prima donna, which is a very temperamental person with an inflated view of their own talent or importance. And even though that perfectly describes Tom and his buddy Bert, that guy really did walk into that one. Nice work, Tom. That one was actually funny. And then there were the people who supported what Tom said and did. There's obviously going to be people on both sides here. "She's still a poor though. Possibly lots on here though." Y'all, it's not about him being inconvenienced by checking his bag. It's about the larger issue here. Flight attendants who get off and telling people what to do just because they say so. That wasn't a flight attendant though, it was an agent. But anyway, so Tom replied, "And zero consistency. They're boarding people with the same bag. Such nonsense. They literally said, 'We need room for all the bags. I'm flying with one roller bag. That's it.'" Now, if you're wondering where all of this came from, it's actually been a slow build-up for Tom. He's talked about the inconsistency a couple of times, Back in 2021, he called out this exact situation on his podcast.
One time I go through and I was fired up that day and somebody told me, I don't know, probably something they're supposed to tell me, but I was like, I was just like not having it. And so I walk through, because it's very like, it's not consistent, I feel like, right?
Not at all.
There's not that's the part that's like very upsetting sometimes, is like, you can't bring that backpack through. I fly with this every week. I don't care if you fly with it every week. And I'm like, it's definitely okay to put this through. And like, I'm like, okay. So, we're having our back and forth. I go, well, it's going through the machine. Go, you check it out, right? And then I walk through and I see like 6 of them get in a huddle and just start conversing like about their day, right?
Yeah.
And I'm watching people like go through security. So I just pull out my phone. I'm like, here's America's finest, doing their best
Protecting
right now.
our borders.
Yeah. And I'm just like filming them. And I'm watching people like, walk through, grab. I'm like, no one's getting checked here, right? And as I'm filming, one of them goes, "Sir?" And I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Please don't film us. Okay, you can't film." I go, "Was it like I can't? I think I can." And she was like, and I just kind of did that for, I don't know, a few seconds. And I was like, "You're not going to take this phone, and I'm not going to delete the video." So whatever, I turn it off, and then I grab my and I go. And, it just was like, it was my version of being like, "Hey, f you,"
Sure.
for being a,
So this wasn't some one-off incident for Tom. Let's just put this into perspective. Tom's a frequent flyer. He's always on the road or flying around to look at watches or cars to add to his collection, making business deals. The life of a celebrity entertainer / entrepreneur / wheeler and dealer. Maybe he gets that from his dad, who used to be an investment banker for Merrill Lynch. Anyway, I digress. Tom doesn't just have issues with airport staff, it's also just people in general when it comes to flying. You see, you got to understand, for a guy like Tom, going to airports and flying is one of the only times he's surrounded by people and can't escape. Think about this, right? When he's on stage in front of thousands of people, he's got a microphone in his hand and everyone just listens to him talk. There's probably no other situation in his life where he's so exposed to the everyday man in such an intimate environment.
I sat down and the guy was like, "How's it going?" And I already had earbuds in. He's like, "How's it going?" So I took one out. I go, "What's that?" He goes, "How's it going?" I was like, "Oh, it's good." And I put it back in. Boop. And then he was like, so I was like, "What's that?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it was like packed flight or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, a lot of people on the flight." Put it back in. And then his mouth moved again, and I just went like, like, you gotta be kidding me. How are you not picking up on this?
I know.
Yeah. You see, I'm stopping. Get out of here, man.
Yeah, you see, it's not just poor old airport staff that get under Tom's skin. It's just people in general who inconvenience his movement or just his thoughts in general. Remember, that comedy brain. But it isn't just him. Tom's celebrity habits have rubbed off on his hardworking comedy legend of a wife who's been grinding for years just like Tom to make it to the top. And some people just don't seem to get it.
I was in first class because I earned it. Okay, I've been a comic for 1,000,000 years. And this next to me, thank you. It's the same story. Like, it's dark as it's the first flight out.
It's the worst.
And he's the only a-hole. He's open, and both open. Both. And then he's like a child where he has to be watching his stupid show with his earbuds.
Yeah, I don't get this, by the way, because this happened to me last week too, where it was all the way open and they're watching something. You're like, you realize the glare is making it harder to watch, right?
Yes.
The f*** are you doing?
I almost was going to tell him.
I like that phrase. I was in first class because I earned it, okay? I've been a comic for 1,000,000 years. Doesn't really work though. Maybe if it was, I've been working on an oil rig for 1,000,000 years, or I've been a firefighter for 1,000,000 years, even I've been a nurse for 1,000,000 years. But being a comic for 1,000,000 years, what does it have to do with flying first class? Is it like some natural progression? Maybe some of you watching can explain to me in the comments. I guess I just don't have the right attitude, huh? That's actually something I should probably take some advice from Tom on. Let's take a closer look because maybe he posted something on Twitter that can help me out. The lowest level poors get upset as they've been trained to do when you point out they're happy to do what I'm told, servant mentality. They don't value time because their time is worthless. You are specks of shit on a washcloth, and washcloths belong in the trash. Oh, geez, mate. All the poors and losers have the same response. Oh, you are inconvenienced. Well, you should accept it. That's what me and my dumb poor family have done for generations. This is why you're poor. Oh man, that is so brutal. Just saying. Anyway, I don't fully disagree with Tom here, funnily enough. He's gone full savage, but there definitely is some truth to what he's saying. Many rich and successful people think in a different way. Perhaps they're more creative or more willing to take risks. But maybe they can be more creative and take more risks because they have a buffer, a safety net effectively, or they're just more comfortable, through the support of their rich parents, for example, just like Tom. And that's actually one thing we know for sure through studies and research, that successful people on average attribute their success to their own hard work or ingenuity instead of circumstantial luck or just convenience, which has been shown to play a much larger role in becoming successful than hard work or ingenuity. And that's where people like Tom get this idea that their time is worth more than yours, because in a sense it is. If Tom misses a day of work so he can't podcast because he's lost his voice or whatever, then his loss will be much higher than if you or me miss a day of work, probably in the tens of thousands of dollars. Now that's a lot of money. I get where he's coming from. Time is money after all. But here's the thing, that plane wasn't going to take off any faster if he didn't have to check his bag. He's mixing issues all into one to make his point, and the bottom line is, this was all just ego, and he made it clear himself. He was having a go at the agent for letting the power get to her head and for her being bossy. Ironic, huh? And that's where I kind of lose Tom when he goes on these rampages. Don't get me wrong, the way he leaned into this whole situation was funny as hell. Come on, admit it. A part of you was laughing at some of those tweets and the way he kept going deep and roasting everyone. But don't be mistaken, Tom's being dead serious. This isn't some ongoing bit that he's doing like many of his fanboys want you to believe. Tom genuinely dislikes poor people and he doesn't like it when the common man or woman get in his way. Remember earlier this year when he roasted that group of his audience who complained about him and Bert constantly going on about their expensive watches and their cars?
I did a podcast with Bart, it was a few weeks ago, and I think I had just seen somebody be like the podcast. Sometimes they'll be like the podcast. Really don't like when you talk about like that you got a watch or you guys will talk about like any success you've had because like I'm having a hard time. So therefore, and I was like, what a loser, like to read somebody going like, hey, you talking about something that's good or a success in your life, it makes me feel bad about my life.
Okay, hang on. So this is what annoys me about this whole situation. People weren't complaining about him and Bert talking about watches and cars. That's not what people were saying. That's how Tom has muddled all of this up in his head to justify his response. It clearly got to him, otherwise he wouldn't have turned it into this massive thing. The issue for people, including myself, was that Tom and Bert were spending way too much time on their regular podcasts and on other podcasts as well, just talking about all the stuff they have and all the cool things they get to do all the time. No one cares if they buy expensive things. All rich celebrities do. I guarantee you, Joe Rogan has way more expensive stuff than these Muppets, but Rogan doesn't spend so much time going on and on and on about his new shiny car and how much he deserves it because he works hard. People want to be entertained on these podcasts, not constantly reminded of how awesome these guys are because they're rich and famous.
I was bothered because I don't like hearing the excuses. What it extends to also, it reminds me of, to me, this has a direct correlation also with thealth and fitness. I want to work out, and then you go, yeah, but
there's a but.
There's always a but. I'm tired, or this is, I don't feel like it today. Like there's always an excuse, right?
Yeah.
So I started to take fitness more seriously, I'd say, in the last year, And so some people notice and they go, congratulations, or that's great, keep going. Like they positive. And then you always find some people who go, must be nice. And
Right.
you're like, what must be nice? And they're like, I mean, it must be nice that you can afford to, go to the gym. And I'm like, wait. So
Right.
is your position that only people with money are into fitness?
Okay, here he goes again. He's completely missed the point. Before Tom got rich, he was a fat slob. He's only upgraded to a dad bod over the last couple of years after his injury, and you guessed it, after he could afford to have a personal trainer literally follow him around the world on his tours to train him.
I started touring with Tom back on the Ball Hog tour. When we were training together, he thought it would be a good idea, to go out like the last quarter of the tour and, train him while he was on the road.
So if you're a single parent or you're just working 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet, wouldn't it be nice to have a personal trainer follow you to work and train you in your breaks, or even just to motivate you to train after work by literally being there ready to go? I mean, think about the relationship you're missing out on with your trainer.
Working with Tom is, you really can't ask for anything better. I can't, man. It's... Fuck yeah.
Oh man, I gotta get me a personal trainer. Seriously, what even is this?
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
Anyway, so Tom's definitely losing it. I wonder how much longer until Netflix drops him. I mean, he was dropping C-bombs left, right, and center on Twitter. It probably wouldn't even matter much to him at this point anyway, and I think he kind of knows that. Look how being dropped by SNL helped Shane Gillis, and also how being dropped by Netflix helped Andrew Schultz. As long as these guys have their buddy Joe Rogan to keep plugging their shows and specials, they'll be fine. And like I said, these guys know that. They're uncancelable at this point, but I'm not sure what they're going to do when their fans eventually get sick of being punched down on and treated like dirty rags. I think Tom needs to get some advice from his buddy Bert on how best to travel and avoid all these inconveniences. Remember, no one travels quite like Bert does. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe so you get all my videos in your feed, and I'll chat to you guys in the next one.
I remember one time we pulled up and the line to get to the airport was, I'm talking, it looked like someone lit up a Christmas tree house. It's just a string of lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was
Bunch
all
of
the way down
animals.
Sepulveda. And we pulled around and we missed all of it. We pulled to the totally other side of the airport. You go in, you sit down, you have a few drinks, you get there an hour and a half. You can get there 5 minutes before your flight, and then they'll grab you.
They'll escort you.
They take your ID, they check you in, they check all your luggage. Then they grab you, they take you through their TSA. So there's no line. It's not a line at all. You walk in, they put you in a 7 Series BMW or a Escalade, and they drive you on the tarmac over next to the plane, and then you enter the stairs. You know when you check your bags, and then when you land, they bring them up that flight of stairs to give you.
Yeah.
You walk up those stairs, and you board the plane last. It is gangster.
Damn.